everyone who is watching live and will be watching in the future. My name is Lydia. I am the Executive Director of Wild Goose Creative, and I'm here with Bee1ne, who is a very well-known local artist here in Columbus, Ohio, and really excited to talk to him about how COVID has affected his work, his background, and the future for him in the art scene here. So a little bit before I get into that, I will talk a bit about Wild Goose. So we are a nonprofit community arts organization, and our mission is to build a creative community. So we are proud to offer, when we are open to the public, over 320 events a year connecting arts and audiences in Central Ohio. So we are all about providing space and resources for local artists. So if you're an artist or creative, you can rent our space for very low cost, $50 an hour, which provides a lot of opportunity because their space is really needed, especially for artists in Columbus. So we also offer professional development workshops and programming. So the programming spans from our visual art gallery that we have every month to comedy shows, theater, dance, improv, pretty much everything across the board. We're all about providing accessible arts programming for very low cost. It's usually $5 or less to attend our programs. So a bit of an update about Wild Goose. We are actually moving from our SoHUD location here at 2491 Summit Street to Franklinton. The space that we will be moving into is really amazing, and Bee1ne actually just finished a wonderful mural that we'll talk about in a bit. While that space is being worked on, we will have a temporary location at the Bridge Gallery at 400 West Ridge. So we'll be able to continue doing some programs and really having a presence in Franklinton as we transition. So we are in the middle of a membership drive. We rely on members to really invest in what we do in the community. So you can be a member for as little as $5 a month, and that $5 a month goes so far in helping us to maintain our operations, especially now with this transition of not having as many events happening. So you can find more about that at wildgoosecreative.org/support. So enough about that. Bee1ne, welcome. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you today?
I'm feeling good. It's been a pretty productive day. So
yeah, what have you been up to today?
Just client work, design work, t-shirt designs. I'm also working on a website right now. Of course, I just finished Wild Goose mural.
True. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, and how long you've been an artist, basically.
I've been an artist, I guess, my whole life. I really started taking it serious around, I would say 13, 14. Growing up in Cleveland, painted in the streets a lot, airbrushing also, switched over to that. I got an apprenticeship at a young age, which actually opened up a lot of doors, learning how to airbrush as well. Working at an airbrush shop in Cleveland, Ron and Don Wills, those were my mentors. That taught me a lot about the business aspect of the art world. I thought that part was boring, of course, but the airbrushing and everything, I learned how to deal with clients and execution, proper execution, work execution. And I would say since a young age, I kind of been bred to do this, so everything happens for a reason. I feel like it's the universe a little bit.
Yeah, for real. So you're also from Cleveland. Lachey, who I interviewed last week, was also from Cleveland, and I am too.
That's my peoples. I love Shay.
I feel like I think Cleveland and Columbus are just so cool. I think their art scenes are uniquely different.
Yeah.
I mean, in my
very 2 worlds apart, actually.
I feel like Cleveland has a lot of more high art institutions because there's a lot of old money there. Whereas Columbus is more of it's reflective of the entrepreneurial scene.
And it's growing. It's growing. I can't say that about Columbus art scene, especially since 2014. Sheesh, the last 6 years I've watched tremendous growth in Columbus, and I'm happy to be a part of it. You know.
You had your first show at Wild Goose in 2014, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
My first show at Wild Goose Creative, November 1st, 2014. I remember that. And because also those that time is really significant to me as well. Um, During that time when I was creating my first show, um, I had run into some issues about like getting represented from galleries and stuff like that. Kind of got turned away, or this timelines and stuff like that. Um, the date is significant because it's actually one of my best friends. It's his birthday, and he helped me a lot during that process of creating my first show. So it was actually like my first show and his birthday all at the same time. So it was pretty cool, which opened up so many doors for us as well. Chill, if you're out listening right now, much love to you, man. I appreciate you, bro. But yeah, he helped a lot with curating my shows, reaching out to people and everything. And of course, my mother and my family helped me put together my first show at Wild Goose. So your friends and family are literally your first line of support. And if you can't get it from them, man, it's going to be a rough ride. So I'm thankful for that support system that I do have. And I was able to put together a successful show at Wild Goose. I'm so thankful for Wild Goose for actually letting me do my first show there. And with Instagram still being fresh at the time, my show actually, like the buildup of it kind of got caught some wind. And I guess some of my pieces also got discovered in the process of just that in that short period of time. So the month of this November, excuse my language, but shit happened so fast in the month of November alone. Because that month of November in 2014, of course, I had my first show. Things like doors opened up immediately. I started getting reached out from, it was Tuck Magazine in Atlanta, and then it was Conception Gallery up in New York. And that's when Art Basel came about. So those two entities linked up in 1 month. First of all, like I didn't know what Art Basel was. I didn't have any idea about anything. And these two entities hit me up and said, "Hey, can you get to Miami in basically like 2 weeks?" Like, what the fuck? What? What is going on? I don't know. So it was
That's insane.
yeah, the Wild Goose opened up that door. So like, yeah.
That is.
I think things were still a little more authentic on Instagram at that time. So the reach out was very sincere, and they told me what they wanted and what they wanted to do, and if I could get to Miami, I would be all right. And they weren't lying. So once I got to Miami, like I ended up doing a show with them, Conception Gallery. I ended up doing some live body painting. I ended up doing a wall there in Miami that same weekend as well. So I did a wall in Wynwood, did a body painting show in Wynwood in 2014, and that ended up landing me with Art Miami. So I ended up doing a project for Art Miami at Coral Gables Art Museum, I believe. And Art Miami, I was in their newspaper and stuff like that. So, which opened up more in Miami. And then after a while, like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of just stayed there. I was back and forth to Miami. Once they showed that love, it was because it was throughout the year. It wasn't just at Art Basel at that point.
Right.
Because I ended up having 3 projects before the next Art Basel in Miami. So the people of Miami started to actually recognize me. So it was like, okay. So in 2015, by the time 2015 came about, that Art Basel was even bigger, where I collaborated with other artists on body painting events and also sold artwork. And it went on like the next couple of years, Art Basel.
such a success story, and really just represents everything that our mission is at Wild Goose, is to just provide a platform, like provide four walls for
Right.
our do whatever they want to do, to take risks, to experiment. I mean, our mission is literally building a creative community at the intersection of art, risk, and meaning. And
Mhm.
while that, can be kind of elusive, it's like that is really what we want to do. And whatever idea you have, you can make it happen at Wild Goose. And
That's why I needed it. And
yeah,
that's why I'm thankful for it, because nobody was really like, it's the image I was going for in my head. Because I could have got any venue, to be honest. I wanted a gallery space.
mhm.
And the thing was, gallery spaces were not on it. They said, oh, you have to join the gallery. Oh, you have to do this, or you have to be a part of this committee, or you know what, your work doesn't fit, or you know what, we don't carry your style of work. And I've heard that too. I'm not going to mention any names because some of those galleries I'm actually good with now. But a lot of those galleries that show me love now here in Columbus, they weren't so receptive to me before.
Sure. I mean, everyone has to get their start somewhere, and I
Yeah, and I understand, but
that's where our niche is like providing that start, and also really kind of creating a seamless energy between emerging artists and also more professional artists. Like a lot of times we display them at the same time and really create a dialogue going on different levels of artists here, which is super cool. So you grew up in Cleveland, and you had your first show here in 2014. So when did you come to Columbus, and why did you come to Columbus?
I came to Columbus because I ended up getting a scholarship at CCAD.
Yeah.
So after high school and everything, I graduated in 2007 from high school. And after high school, a year later, I came down here because I ended up having a scholarship. And CCAD is expensive, man. Sheesh. That's the most expensive college in Columbus, I feel like. Definitely. It would have been cheaper for me to go to OSU. But no offense to OSU. But
I went to OSU.
yeah, I ended up getting a scholarship to CCAD, though. And it looks really good on my resume, at least. It looks really good on my resume. Louis Vuitton looked at me for that. So, yeah, geographic issues, though, came into play. I don't live in Texas.
So I guess my question is, like, are you, before we get into the more specifics about your actual work, are you interested in staying here in Columbus, or do you have, are your sights set on other cities, or do you just want to have this be your hub, kind of?
Before I was all for leaving, and it's because of my experiences with traveling. So, and after the show in 2014 and after the Art Basel, so many more projects end up coming about because I met so many people in that space at Art Basel. So I end up doing jobs and from Miami and Chicago, LA, back to Atlanta and so forth. But during those travels, I kind of got like lonely, man. I miss the family and stuff. So, I mean, even though you spend a lot of time in hotel rooms by yourself, so you miss home. I love traveling. I wouldn't mind going to stay in another city for my max is 3 months now. Before I wanted to live in LA and every place else, and because I absolutely love LA. But there's no place like home. I love Ohio. I think I'm going to stay here now, as of right now. And I think, to be honest, after that talk with Corey Favor and Marshall Shorts, that's who kind of really made me want to stay home a little bit more. Corey Favor and Marshall Shorts actually made me want to stay home because right before my second solo show, Spread More Love at Denmark, that the Thankful for Creative Control Fest, and Marshall Shorts, Corey Favor, for putting together actually my second solo show at Gallery Denmark. But they actually had to talk with me. And as we were putting that show together, I was actually in LA. So my second solo show, I was actually in LA during the whole process. And then I came back home and we did it. So I was actually working on work out there, and I had pieces here, and then I came back home and we literally put the show like together. But they actually made me make me want to stay home more because they showed me like, hey, it's more opportunities here. We're doing more. When the time where you left, or when you were on your journey, it wasn't as many of us or as many opportunities yet. And since then, it has been a lot more opportunity. So not just Marshall Shorts and Corey Faber. I actually have to thank Yogi as well for that, because he also said the same thing. Like, just give me a chance. He did say, I remember that conversation at World Hall in Wall Street. He said, give me a chance. I guarantee B, just give me a moment and you won't have to leave the city. I was like, okay. And next thing you know, the Spread More Love mural came, the Columbus Harlem Renaissance, the celebration of the Centennial project came, and so many more other that. Gateway Film Center. So it's so many projects that end up coming up, and everybody kept their word. So I think that's kind of what made me stay. Everybody kept their, like, because there's a lot of people, like, on my journey, I've heard a lot of, oh, we can do this for you, or we'll do this, and we can do that. And it comes with a lot of false promises, and when these guys said it, to be honest, they probably listen, if they're listening right now, I didn't believe them either. I didn't believe them either, because I heard it so much. And then when they actually backed it with action, it was like, all right, cool. Maybe I can do more work here in the city and stuff. And in that process also, they kind of exposed me to the people that already recognize me. So on my travels also, I didn't know what was happening at home, right? So I didn't know that, as I was posting or bringing things together or talking about certain things, that people actually at home was watching. I didn't think that, so I'm just creating and working at this point. I'm just trying to make it happen. And then when I got back to Columbus, like, more, it was like open arms. And I think that was the confusing part. In 2018, when I started to realize, like, y'all really like me a little bit. So
you can see your work everywhere in the city. I just want to share my screen so that everyone can see the mural that you just finished on our new building. Can you see that?
Love it.
Yeah. So this is called, so the title of it is Wild Love, correct?
Yes.
So it's really beautiful. I feel like it really frames the 400 Square area when you're looking west from 400 West Ridge. So really, I feel like your work is so different from anything being done right now in Columbus. So how do you feel that your message and style distinguishes?
To be honest, I just did what I wanted to do from the beginning. The way everybody has this thing, like, artists have this thing on a journey that we face, right? We go through a lot, finding our style, trying to figure out what we're going to paint or draw, or the direction we want our careers to go, and this, that, and the fourth. We stress about that a lot. And the best thing to do, honestly, is to just be yourself. And I had to stop looking at other people's artwork, other artists' artwork, because what happens is that you compare yourself, you doubt yourself, you try to emulate that versus who you are, and then you go in a circle. So now, because you're trying to figure it all out, but you're not following your own path, you kind of run in a circle versus, because it's going to be a crooked line there. It's not a straight path to this. There is no, I'm going to make it overnight type situation, So I think just discovering your style as far as just drawing and painting and exploring yourself and knowing who you are as an individual. And that goes outside of your art. So, and I think that's where a lot of artists, they think, oh, I just got to draw well. No, you got to actually know who you are as a person as well. Because to be honest, I was drawing in and painting those hearts and stuff before the notoriety. It was in my sketchbooks and stuff that I painted in the street. I just didn't think that people would be receptive to it, you know, because it was hearts, and it really was a Band-Aid on an ugly situation. That's kind of where the whole spread more love came from. Spread more love in a world that shows so little. So if you're growing up in the projects or the hood, ain't no art galleries in the projects. So, you know, I learned about line weight, gradients, transitions, all of that, looking at street art, you know. So I seen the different line weights and everything like that, the different gradients and the color theories, the way they was all put together. And this was all before high school, you know. This is just growing up in Cleveland, seeing it. So that's actually where I got the first art education, is the streets, you know. And that's what essentially helped me also find my style with the pattern and the motif that I have now, because it is something like repetitive at the same time, or a motif, and because in Cleveland, and just about any other place, the most goal for street artists is all city, go up, you know, fame, you know, put name to your fame to your name, basically, is who can get up the most, you know. So you want it, we call them heaven spots. Maybe it might be like a water tower or the top of an old bando or old building or something like that. But yeah, like a lot of my style just really just came from my childhood and growing up in Cleveland and stuff like that. And then the other art education came in later, you know, proper education, I guess you could say. But the base of my style to this day is not what you see from CCAD, but it's what you get from the streets from Cleveland, you know. So that's actually like where you see the hearts at, where you see those geese at in the proportion. That's from CCAD. No, that's from CCAD. Yeah. But that original heart motif, that's raw. That's authentic, you know.
It's a really interesting combination of your more formal training with the influence that, you know, you've just gained naturally from life, and I feel like people respond to that. So I'm curious, how would you describe the difference or similarities between like the Cleveland street art scene and here? Like, are there opportunities here that are not in Cleveland, or vice versa? Or like,
okay, I mean this with all as much love as possible. I don't want any Columbus City officials to get mad or anything, but in Cleveland, I mean, it's a crime everywhere right now, if you like. But in Cleveland, at least we have places called free walls. So when I was growing up, we had a place under the bridge, like West 25th, basically. It was almost like, and in LA, they have it too on Venice Beach. Basically, it's a location where artists can go and paint free without having to worry about police or gang involvement or anything like that. Because also growing up in Cleveland, like you paint in the wrong neighborhood, some of us would carry a gun to go paint. But if you're in the wrong neighborhood and you painting, you might get robbed or shot, or because they might think you're gang affiliated, right? So that was another issue. But that's why the West 25th, like under the bridge, that came about, because it was a safe zone for all artists to go and paint. And they also have that in Venice Beach. I'm not sure as far as New York or any other cities, but my experiences in Cleveland and in LA, I know they have free walls there. I think they should have something like that in Columbus here. And we only have one location that I know of, and that's the Lookout Supply out west. And that's my boy Ketchup. He has walls that artists can go out there, and if they want to practice a new medium, because at the end of the day, like we're really changing that perception too of what graffiti artists and street artists are, right? Because this part of the world is say, hey, this is illegal, this is vandalism, this is this. But then we got these same people, or these elite and these rich people in certain worlds, and they can sell a cause painting for 14 million. But that same guy was a street artist in the 80s. So what part of the culture is okay and what part isn't? So it's a lot of picking and choosing, but it's mainly like on what the galleries and those elite people can capitalize off of.
Absolutely. And I also feel that there are so many blank walls in Columbus, but not enough money to pay the artists. Like Cincinnati has a public art fund, which we don't have here. And then in some cities, there's a stipulation that any new real estate has to have a certain percentage as public facing art, which has not been passed in Columbus yet, as far as I know. So I think there's so much potential for finding more funds to pay artists to, to paint.
Well, even if it's not necessarily like that is great, but I'm talking about a location in Columbus outside of Ketchup's where it's safe for artists who are interested in aerosol to go and paint, without having to be harassed by the police or anything like that, So because this is an art form that the world is now getting more receptive to it, and I believe only because of the commercial aspect of it, So because we weren't making no money off of it and that before, but now it's like that once the galleries felt that it was acceptable, they start. I mean, we seen that clearly with John Michel Basquiat. He's a perfect example of that. Going and painting the streets, and then once someone of certain nature says, "Oh, you know what? This is good. We're going to put this price tag on it, and now let everybody come to this gallery because I said it's good enough. We're going to now pay $2 million for it or $3 million for it." So, and that's, I think, in my journey with art, that's the part that gets frustrating.
Yeah.
It's like, who's to say? Like, who are you to say my work is now good enough, or because I've seen some like what I might consider as horrible. And we're in the contemporary era where you can do just about anything, like the banana situation at Art Basel, right? The guy literally put a piece of duct tape over a banana and it sold for millions. So it's almost like some people feel like artwork is just like pure alchemy. Some people feel like it's a joke. Some people feel like, like it's a ripoff, and they have their right to feel so, because I even felt that banana duct tape situation was a joke. It was almost like a mockery of what we do, and that artist, who did it, he's known and everything. So it's just like, is it a popularity contest?
Right. I mean, it's just fascinating how art has changed throughout society over the years in the way that the public perceives what art is. And, it is such an elusive thing. And really, I feel like taking art outside of the just traditional gallery space is really interesting. And, I feel like the more that we can provide that for artists in the city, in an accessible way to explore their art, like what you were saying, is really interesting. And I hadn't even thought about that. Like, I didn't know that Cleveland had that. Is that near the West Side Market?
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally went past it and I noticed.
Exactly. I don't know. Like, I haven't been home lately, but I'm not sure if that's something they still have going. But they used to do like what is it? I forgot what it was called. But every year also they would do something like a city scribe. But we had like where different graffiti artists and stuff would come out every year in the city. And it would literally be on the West Side Market as well. So we have like b-boy contests. It would be other artists like painting and stuff like that. And it's kind of like what Ketchup does here in Columbus with the Lookout Supply. And I think that's what kind of made me gravitate towards that as well, because it's like a comfort zone, But yeah, we if we could have something more so like that in Columbus, maybe downtown somewhere.
Seriously think about it. I mean, I think this is a real thing that could garner some support, and maybe we can make it happen somehow.
Yeah, I would love to be a part of that process.
So how obviously COVID has affected a lot of creatives, and and how they work. How has it been for you and everything?
In the very beginning, in March, I got depressed. Yeah, I got depressed, to be honest. I didn't realize how much design work that I had in nightclubs and skating rinks until March. So like all those contracts that I had, like because of course everything got shut down, so there was no nightclubs that needed me. There was no skating rinks that needed me. There was no promoters club or roller skating promoters that needed me. No barbershops, beauty salons, all of that stuff. Like my clients didn't need my services. So that was a bit difficult. When they started to give out the stimulus checks and everything, I didn't receive one of those either. So I'm from Cleveland and I'm a hustler. I'm from the East Side. So I thought about it. I was like, you know what? How can I make money when everybody else is getting stimulus checks? So what I did was I made shirts. I made masks. I did prints. I used my resources, the best way I could. I just put my artwork out versus because I had got comfortable doing client work. And that's where it was. It was like, all right, I'm doing design work here, doing flyers here, doing logos here. And, sometimes I wouldn't even do my own work because I'm so focused on the day job. And COVID actually, it was bittersweet because it made me get back into my bag as far as painting and creating what I wanted. So I lost the contracts and everything, but I end up making money in other ways by creating, prints and other work. So it got better around, end of April. I get caught up on some bills, May, and then things started to turn around with the murals and everything. So,
Yeah,
I'm thankful. But it got dark for a second, man.
absolutely. I feel like a lot of people are in the same boat.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting the different responses for different artists. Like some, really like felt motivated during this time, and others just creatively couldn't really do much. So I think it's interesting how something like this can really affect your creativity.
Yeah, right now especially because it's like so many emotions flying, with the murder and killing of Breonna Taylor, so like that situation, that scenario, that story, it just kind of like threw me all the way back because I can't imagine anybody kicking in my door and shooting or anything at 1 o'clock or that late in the morning, and so that scenario. I don't mean to get too far into politics, but that scenario actually woke up other parts of the message that I wanted to display. And that's what me and Mr. Robot Geek did down at Madison, on Fifth and High. And those pieces were very symbolic, and we had to get that out. That's why we put up Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X. And then also we put up the Pan-African flag to represent the 100-year celebration that Marcus Garvey created in 1920. So the Pan-African flag was created in 1920, also during the Harlem Renaissance. So we just celebrated the Harlem Renaissance of 100 years, and we also celebrate the Pan-African flag this year that was created by Marcus Garvey. So I put that artwork up on the GCAC and also up at Madison. And actually, you can see I'm working on a canvas piece behind me right now because it's a centennial. It's all year. And a lot of people actually didn't know the history of it. So I found myself actually, while painting on the street, letting people know, while we were painting at Madison, even at the GCAC, people were like, I know those colors and I know that, but what flag is that? And I would tell them like, oh, okay, well, this flag is the Pan-African flag created by Marcus Garvey. And they were like, oh, okay, I didn't know. And I was actually surprised, but, cultural differences. I grew up in a household, but I was surprised to know that just as many Black folks didn't know either, though. So I guess it just depends on how you raised. Yeah.
So would you say that murals and street art are really like your first love, creatively speaking?
Yes. Yes. That's definitely the first love. And then I would say airbrushing and canvas painting and stuff. So I think like to be honest, I like doing graphic design and marketing and branding and developing, projects and concepts for companies and small businesses. Don't get me wrong, I love doing that type of stuff because I still get to be creative. Um, but I think that was more like because I knew I always wanted to work in art, right? And we always hear this perception of the starving artist, and even growing up watching TV or whatever, media portrays this painter always as a starving artist or poor, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not for that. I wasn't for that. I'm not. I refuse to be that. So yeah, I work hard, man. I work hard, and I after while I CCAD in studying illustration, um, I kind of realized that too, and the reason where I realized it is that one of my a fellow student of mine was basically like, yeah, I'm an art and graph because basically his mom and dad felt that fine arts was going to be a waste.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, you changed your major because your mom and dad said fine art is going to be a waste. And I didn't, I was just, I had thought about it. I was like, I'm an illustration major, bro. Like, okay. But it made me think like how, because his parents said, how you going to make money after school? What are you going to do? Are your paintings going to sell? Are you that good? Like that is, that'll get to you mentally because his parents really broke him down, but I felt like the message was for me. So his parents like broke him, but his parents actually made me think about it. Like, damn, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I met like, it's no offense, I met CCAD graduates who work at Best Buy or work at a call center. You mean tell me you got this prestigious degree and you're not doing anything with it? Nah, So I thought about that and I took ad and graph classes as well. So I learned marketing and branding. I ended up taking those as like secondary things. And I ended up starting to do, I ended up taking photography classes as well. So I made sure that I was well-rounded of an artist. So no matter where I went, I could take care of myself. Because I didn't want to be the starving artist. So I took it upon myself to learn photography, to learn graphic design. I tattooed for a second. Like anything that comes to the arts, I've done it. Like, so.
your I don't even want to say day job, but the thing that makes you maybe more consistent income is still in the creative field.
Right.
Then like feeds your soul, because I think a lot of times it's like that's not, your day job is not at all related to art, and then it can kind of get hard to get back into it. And so that's why I'm actually going to be I am teaching a class at CCAD called Arts Management. And
good, because they need it.
Yeah, well, it's really just like providing another option for grads to have a career in the arts still, like maybe working for an organization or an arts nonprofit or a museum. So you can still have a stable creative career that's in that field, but then also, have your own creative process that you. I think just being multidisciplinary, like exactly like you, is so important. And we try to provide knowledge around that too at Wild Goose with Business of Art and things like that. Mm-hmm. But so here's my last question. What projects do you find most challenging, and what do you find most? Well, I guess you've already answered this, but
really? The projects I find the most challenging, to be honest, is dealing with certain clients. And it's mainly when it comes to their business, whether it be t-shirts or logos or flyers. And what's that term? The customer always knows best.
Customer right. If the customer pays, the customer is always
right. That's what they say, right? Okay. No, that's not true. That's not true. Because my job is literally to provide you with the best quality service, right? That's why you come to me, because you want a professional graphic designer. So if I'm designing your logo and we sit down and we literally put everything together, and I create something for you, it's not like we hear that, because they say the client is always right. Client is always right. We hear them out. Sometimes those clients don't come up with things that's aesthetically pleasing or that might be good for their business. So as a designer, it's not really our job to educate you. And this is what I was taught at CCAD. Our job is literally to provide you the design that you want, right? In this journey, though, I've realized I did that what CCAD told me to do, right? And I realized like some of these people don't know design. They don't know. So how can we expect them to know what to give us when they don't know themselves? So a lot of times you might have a client says, yeah, I want this, that, and the fourth. And it's literally icing on top of shit. So it looks horrible and they don't realize that. And so even when you do a design for them, they might think it's too boring or this, but what I've learned was line weight and aesthetics and measuring and down to the pica, but they don't understand none of the terminology or none of what's going on. It's just not the way they want it. And I understand that. But in the process of doing this, I've made things the way clients want them exactly. And then in the end, they want to change it later because they don't think it's good enough again. But I've done it exactly like they want. However, I've learned once I educate them or talk to them about it, they understand or they get it, or I have to give them examples, like talking about Nike or Adidas or their favorite brands, or just looking at Giant Eagle, for that matter. Just I have to educate a lot of my clients on marketing and branding so they can understand, because they're trying to develop a business. So not only am I providing design work, but now I'm educating. So as of lately, I've done a lot of that where I feel like, man, my prices should go up, because once again, CCAD told me my job is not to educate, but to do the job. So now I'm falling into consultation, so now it's like, okay, so now I'm a consultant for your business. And I've really had that. I've had people hit me up because they know I know about design and visually, how to make their brand visually appealing. And they won't get no design work from me. They just call to talk. And I didn't get that. I didn't understand that at first. I was just like, oh yeah, no, yeah, we just shooting the shit. And I'm giving people my ideas and I'll do it like this. And then you see associates come out with that project later or do that, and it's fully developed. And it's like, oh, maybe I should have kept my mouth closed. Like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'm gonna give you that gem. But I've learned over time to also like keep it tight. So I don't say too much now.
So I guess what do you see the future for yourself? Like what are projects coming up? Is like consulting a thing that you're like working on?
I have been lately. I have been doing with Dolphin Black Studios. I do more consulting work as of lately. But I'm also doing the design work too. I've had some people just hit me up on consultations where they need feedback, and they've paid me for that, and it's worked out. So that's why I know, like now, because of the track record, I feel like I can charge for consultations now. Mm-hmm. And that's just, that's just the day job. And you said, like, not to get too far off, but you said that's the most challenging, basically.
Sure.
As far as the most fulfilling is doing, what I do normally since I was younger, and that's just painting on canvas, doing what I want to do, not necessarily for a client, but doing something that I want to do per se.
Yeah, and I feel like when you get paid to do what you want to do is the
Oh
goal.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, I do. I mean, it's a lot of people that, as that in the last couple of years, I can say that people have bought my paintings. I've actually been very successful with selling paintings. So I just don't have time to do them all the time, like I want to actually, and I think I'm slowly getting there because like even right now I'm not taking design jobs because I'm literally catching up on some of the work that I'm doing now. Um, so I would say like that's the most fulfilling though. Just regular paint, canvas, aerosol, take it back to when I was a kid, and that's the most fulfilling. That's my happy place.
Well, I can say that your work is really, really becoming very iconic throughout the city. So we're so happy to have kind of come full circle with you and doing the mural on our new space. And you'll definitely see it when you go down to 400. So how can people get in contact with you, or like what's your social?
So they can reach me from my website at www.bee1ne.com, BEE, the number one, NE.com. You can reach me on Instagram at Bee1ne, BEE, the number one, NE underscore. Facebook, the same thing, Bee1ne. Also have Tumblr, everything else. But you can literally find everything from my website or Instagram.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're so busy.
Thank you for having me. Of course, I'll make the time for Wild Goose. Yeah.
So also I want to thank the Reese Brothers and Nicolette Cinematographics for putting on this Art Tells a Story.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is wonderful. And I will be hosting another one next week, so stay tuned for that. And thank you. Thanks, Bee1ne.
Thank you for having me.